Welcome to Fuel the Fire TV. We've got an exciting new season to share with you about our experiences up here in Ontario.
That's right. We call Manitoulin home, and we have a ton of hunting and fishing adventures to share with you.
Stay tuned for our inaugural season of Fuel the Fire TV. Episode 1 is aptly called Chasing the Dream.
Life offers no guarantees, but the one thing that we've learned for sure is that the time we have is indeed precious. The more time we spend with family, with friends, and with nature can make the difference between living a good life and living a great one. Join us on our quest to be participants rather than observers, to learn from our mistakes, to share our successes and our failures as we spend all the time we have chasing our dreams, fueling our passion, and fueling our fire in the great outdoors.
Closed captioning for Fuel the Fire TV is brought to you by Island Sunrise Cottages. Fish, hunt, stay Manitoulin.
Hey folks, welcome to Fuel the Fire TV. I'm your host, Neil Dabosky, and this is the co-host, Rob Seifrid. We really hope you tune in over the course of the next 13 episodes as we try and capture some of that passion we all share as outdoors people. That burning desire that drives us to not only be out in nature, but to be a part of it.
Neil's right. The common ground we have is that we all want to experience what nature has to offer with our family and friends.
Now, by no means, we're not going to try and pass ourselves off as experts. As a matter of fact, we're going to show you some of our mistakes. And that segment is called Learning Curve Tips. We all make mistakes, and we hope that we can help prepare you guys better afield and maybe make you a better hunter or a better angler. Stay tuned for our Learning Curve Tip.
This segment of Fuel the Fire TV is brought to you by North Meridian Enterprises.
Let me set this footage up for you real quick. We've been at it for 30 plus days with a bow. It's November. I'm committed to this little buck. We have good footage of him. There's good footage to the backstory, and I'm self-videoing. All you hunters know that there's no substitute for practice, whether it's with a bow or a rifle. You need to practice sitting, standing, tree stand, ground blind. There's no substitute for being able to gauge your yardage. And this is where I go wrong. I'm at full draw, I make an estimation of where that buck is at, and he moves laterally 5 yards, not away from me 5 yards. It's a clean miss. I'd rather do that any day than wound an animal, but it's important to realize that there's no substitute for practice. Watch what happens.
Steps out in front of me. Jeez. Oh well. That's why it's called hunting and not killing. Jeez.
For episode 1, we really had to think long and hard about what footage we wanted to share. Now you have to remember, we've been at this for a while. We've got hundreds of hours of footage. We drag our cameras everywhere, and we really had to choose and think long and hard about what we wanted to share with you guys. How did you decide to share the footage you chose?
Well, I've done a lot of guiding for people that have never got to hunt moose or bear or stuff, and I've had lots of friends shoot some nice moose, which Trevor shot a big one. Put my buddy Craig on a few nice deer over his time. And when it comes right down to it, my family is what's important, and that's what I picked. Bush Country Camp is a very special trip for us, and that was a special moment.
And what about Bush Country Camp? Now, Norm and I go back a dozen years when we were working the Toronto Sportsman shows together. That's actually how we got hooked up, and we spent a couple of weeks together at a time. And we finally got a chance to go to Bush Country Camp and film an episode, which you'll see in episode 8. But what was it about Bush Country Camp that you loved?
Well, Bush Country Camp It's such a relaxing atmosphere.
Right.
I mean, it's very rustic, but it's so relaxing. The loons come right up to your boat. You know, when you're fishing walleye at night, that's all you hear is them loons singing. And for my wife, it's got her totally hooked. She will always go back to bush country camp.
Bush Country Camp is located on Lake Sassaginaga. It's just over the border, about 3 hours from North Bay, maybe 2 hours from Temiskaming. Norm and Chantel do a fantastic job at providing a quality experience for their clients.
That's right. They picked us up at the boat landing and we took a 12-mile boat ride up the lake to a 13-acre island where the cottages are located. Hey, Norm.
How you doing?
Good.
Yes, sir.
Awesome place you got here.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our chunk of paradise.
Yeah.
And we always start off with the ZEC forms. Like I mentioned, we are in a harvest control zone called ZEC. That's really particular about this territory. It's like almost like a national park, and it's protected. And when you mean harvest control zone, there's very specific laws on the hunting and the fishing.
Okay.
So there's slot size on the fish. No ice fishing allowed, as an example.
Right.
So that really picks things up. It is off the beaten trail a bit.
Yes,
so
for sure.
yeah, no paved road coming up to the lake, and being on the ZEC also is another advantage. You're not allowed to have cottages. You'll never be able to buy property or build anything. So that's kind of neat too. So it keeps the environment the way it is.
Hey folks, pretty excited. We're back in bush country camp way up in Quebec. I'm here this week with my family. It's my wife and my boy. And we're just going to have a family vacation, do some walleye fishing, and hopefully get into some big pike. Just want to show you what we're using here up in bush country camp. So we're using a body bait, and talking to some of the other guys here, and they said anything with the red on it, with a clear side, really works well here. So, you know, it's about a 4-inch body bait. You want something that doesn't dive too deep, because what we're doing is when we're trolling basically from 6 to 10 feet of water. So anything that's going to dive too deep, you're going to be snagged all the time. One cool thing about Pickerel Bay is there's a spot on it. It's called the Frying Pan. It's a great spot. You can stop there, have a shore lunch. We stopped there today and had hot dogs. If you ever get a chance to come to bush country camp, come into Pickerel Bay, stop at the Frying Pan, have yourself a short lunch with your family, your kids. It's a good time.
Good job, Landon. Oh wow, it's a nice walleye. You can see him.
He's a nice one.
He's a nice one.
Got color.
Doesn't want to give up yet, though.
He's tiring me out.
You fighting him. There he is.
Whoa, he's seen the net and
I see.
took a dive.
He's coming.
Where's the guy? Mom, get the net. Get the net.
Oh, he's a nice walleye. Oh boy, look at that one. He's a...
I can mount that.
Hurry up and get him out of the... Okay, that definitely, that fish is definitely over the slot size. Landon just landed that. It was great fight, eh, buddy? Come here quick with that. Show everybody your fish. There you go. That's a nice walleye. Let's get him back in the water, okay?
Okay.
Hey folks, welcome back to Fuel the Fire TV. We're in Manitoulin Bay on Manitoulin Island. We're waiting for our guide and fellow pro staffer Luke Wasagijik from Wasagijik Tours. It's the early part of May and we're going rainbow fishing.
It's been a good start to the season.
Right.
Last night we were out, we hit a couple trolling along the shore, about 8 pounds, but it seems to be this year we're averaging around 5 pounds, so you know, good eating size fish.
Right, and you know what? Because for the Wild Kitchen we want to do a cedar plank on the barbecue, and a 5-pounder would be perfect. Let's aim for that, and anything better will be icing on the cake. Let's get at it.
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're fishing Manitoulin Bay. Today's method is pretty simple. You know, we're trolling crayfish. We're gonna move to some wraps. We're gonna see if we get some of those active fish. This time of year, we're in the first, like I said, the first 5 days of ice out here on Manitoulin Bay. We're fishing anywhere in between 8 and about 15 feet of water. Trolling with the crayfish, we got bright chartreuse on the one side and clacking red on the other.
Yeah, he's a good eater. Come right up there. Good job. There we go. But a real good eating fish. We're gonna try this guy in the wild kitchen, and we're gonna put him on a cedar plank on the barbecue, and we'll show you how we're gonna prepare him for the table. We'll be right back. Stay tuned to Fuel the Fire TV.
This segment of Fuel the Fire TV is brought to you by Sunset Bay Resort.
Hey folks, in this week's Wild Game Kitchen, I'm on supper duty, and when I'm cooking, I like to make sure it's simple. Now, we do have resident chefs. One of my favorite is Rose Diebold from Gardens Gate Restaurant. I love to barbecue, and this week we're gonna barbecue that trout you saw us catch. We're gonna use a cedar plank, and a lot of the times the recipes call for you to soak that plank for half an hour or so. What we wanna make sure we do is that we soak that plank for at least 2 hours. That way it soaks up all of the water, because that's what's actually gonna cook the fish. All of that steam and the smoke is gonna infiltrate the fish once we close that lid. Part of the secret to when you're cooking with a cedar plank on the barbecue is to make sure you keep that lid closed for the first 5 minutes. We've got some Manitoulin maple syrup, and so we've got 7 teaspoons or tablespoons of this. 1, 2, 3, and I've got some already in there. So that gives us about the right amount we need. Like Rose says, we never measure. Good chefs never measure, they eyeball. So we've got a couple of cloves of garlic that we've crushed. I'm gonna put that in there. Better use a spoon. That's gonna be better. We're gonna use a spoon for that garlic. I love garlic. And then we've got some gritty mustard, some Dijon mustard. We're gonna throw that in there, and we're gonna mix it around like so. And we're gonna add salt and pepper to taste. I'm not gonna taste that just yet. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And we're gonna use this to coat the fish before we put it on the barbecue. Now this has been soaking for about an hour. I'm gonna put this marinade on the trout for about another hour. It's gonna heat up to about room temperature, and then we're gonna put it on medium heat on the barbecue for about 5 minutes before we take a peek, and then another 3 to 5 minutes depending on how big your trout is and how tender you want that meat to be. We're gonna put it right on the grill like that on medium heat, and then just for a little bit of looks, I'm gonna put on some parsley like this, and then I'm just gonna put the rest of this on here to soak it right in like so. And then we're gonna close that lid for 5 minutes. Who would ever guess that trout fishing is a life and death situation? That day when Luke and I and Diane went out fishing, little did we know that there was a big grass fire just offshore from where we were. We did notice a helicopter fly by in the distance, and then a small plane, and then way off we saw one of those big yellow water bombers. We paid no attention to it, and about a half an hour later we hear this deafening roar. At one point when we looked at it, it did look like it was coming right for the boat. It didn't hit us, obviously, but it came real close, and we did manage to catch a fish that night, a couple of fish, and this is one of the ones we're gonna eat. And there we have it, folks. Like I said, when you watch me do the Wild Game Kitchen, it's gonna be simple. It's not gonna be complicated. This is gonna feed 4 people. It's 1 fillet of fish, and that's what we did this week on the Wild Game Kitchen.
I was kind of curious how you came about picking the footage that you picked for this.
You know, this was a tough one for me as well, just like you. We've got lots of experiences to choose from. And, you know, I really did have a favorite as far as a family fishing trip. It happened to be in Florida. I don't want to ruin the fish and fowl episode. You will see that one. But I do want to share a little bit of that footage just because it was so much fun with my girls out on the ocean.
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep feeling that sucker in. Oh, he's a big one. He's a big one. Oh, he's good. I said, oh my goodness, I can't. Keep going, sweetie. Keep going.
Come on, Aspen. Come on. Come on.
Oh,
Reel. Oh my goodness.
this one's a good one.
Look
Okay,
at that
we got
thing.
him.
Oh, so huge.
Look at that fish. Oh, and he just popped off. High five.
Hey folks, you have to try this if you haven't tried it yet. It is great. Fueling the passion and fueling the fire, getting outdoors with Gulf Stream fishing charters out of Clearwater. Aspen just caught the biggest fish she's got in her life, maybe, eh? Pretty close. Get outdoors, folks. I highly recommend, if you ever go to Florida, to check out one of the local fishing charters. They're just absolutely fantastic. The actual footage that I chose for the first episode of Fuel the Fire TV surprised me a little bit. I never considered myself a turkey hunter. I don't really know why. Maybe because we don't have turkeys up on Manitoulin Island. You gotta travel to go shoot them. But it wasn't until I started, you know, hanging out with Rob and going down to Grey County in the Bruce Peninsula that I really fell in love. I just didn't expect it. Whether it was being naive or maybe even a little bit judgmental and critical about, you know, these things might be easy to hunt. Well, they're not. And because of that, I think that's why I chose this footage. On top of that, I was able to hunt with Diane, and we only had one day to get it done, where a plan actually comes together in short order. Check it out. This was a great hunt for me.
Hey folks, welcome back to Fuel the Fire TV. We're on the Chichimon Ferry. That's the ferry that gets you up from the Bruce Peninsula onto Manitoulin Island. It's one of two ways to get on the island. Diane and I are going down to Cape Croker. It's the last weekend of turkey season. We have one day to get it done. We know there are some unpressured big toms down in the Cape, and Blake is going to take us on a guided trip, and hopefully we'll get one of these birds on video. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Yeah, I roosted those birds last night across the field, but we're a little bit late, so maybe if you make some calls, we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll call back.
Okay, so you saw, well, I don't know if you saw it, but we were able to get on a whole flock of turkeys. We just couldn't get them to come that last 60 yards or so. We tried to get in front of them, and we just kept missing them. So we're gonna let them sit for a little bit. We're gonna go try a place called the Prairie, where we were lucky enough a couple of weeks ago. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. No sooner did we give up on those birds, did they circle down and around us. We were walking back to the truck. We had a long hike to get back, and Diane was sure she could hear some action down in the field.
They were closer this way. They were closer this way.
Sure enough, we cut through the bush line and we could hear those birds. So I was ahead of Diane. She's carrying all the camera gear, and I make one little cut, and a hen pops its head up. It comes running across the field. I drop to my stomach. Diane hunkers down beside a tree, and she's gonna pin us. It's all but over. She's coming across the field to check out what was making all that noise. And we're toast. There's nothing we can do but video. And blackbirds, red-winged blackbirds, come and save the day. They start dive bombing this turkey. This hen doesn't know what's going on. She's ducking, she's diving, she's trying to get out of the way, and she's completely distracted. That gives us enough time to get set up a little bit better, and all 12 of those turkeys in that flock come chasing her as she's trying to duck those blackbirds, including that great big tom. Watch what happens.
Okay folks, this marks the end of our 2014 turkey season. We were super lucky this weekend. We came down to the Bruce Peninsula. Blake got us on a couple of really nice toms, and we were able to have it come together in a real short window. We had a fantastic time. I was very happy that Diane was able to come down this weekend and get to experience her first turkey hunt with me.
I didn't realize it was going to be this exciting, and I'm really looking forward to maybe getting one myself.
Perfect, that's just what we want to hear. Folks, remember, in order to fuel your passion and fuel the fire, you have to get outdoors, and this will happen. Awesome, just awesome.